scientist has quite a broad role in that it provides strategic coordination of science and analytics that informs our decision making, our policies, publications, interventions. So I get to do all sorts of fantastic stuff, like read all of the publications that UNEP produces. I provide advice on specific aspects of science, including emerging science. I look at our prioritisation, how robust some of the work that we do is, and importantly, working with partners external to UNEP, as well as all of our expert staff internally. Science has to be both credible and impartial. So we use the science that is generated by many others, and we often synthesize it, and we look at where there are trends, where there's new information and science, and we use it to actually inform the development of our policies and programs to achieve environmental outcomes. Remember, the science that we do is to be applied to actually solve the environmental problems that we have the task to look at. So we produce integrated assessments like the GEO, we produce synthesis reports, foresight briefs, frontiers, etc. And we also undertake projects on behalf of member states to investigate and implement programs. And of course, some of that generates science that we can actually also use in our global efforts to make good environmental decisions. So UNEP is already making good use of science, and we already have a big network of experts and practitioners across all of our environmental sectors, and we work with them quite successfully. I think some of the things that we need to do, though, is to get more enthusiasm and trust for the science that we do, and also make sure that it's translated so people really understand what the science is telling us and what the options are for actually providing solutions to some of the problems we're facing. So I think some of the challenges that we have and what we perhaps might be able to tackle is to look at different ways of communicating or translating the science information that we gather, making it more accessible for everyone, and so that it resonates with the particular individuals, governments, industries, businesses, etc., that want to have access to that information and importantly, some of the solutions. So you will often hear me use the terms open, transparent, accessible science in a way that we can use for different stakeholders. I think in the science area, our priorities are to be more impactful, i.e. that the work we do actually has tangible benefits to environmental protection, environmental health, agriculture, biodiversity, all the rest of it. But that in order to be impactful, we also need to make sure that the visibility of the science that we do, and importantly, the solutions that we come up with, are communicated. And so I think some of our key priorities for the future is that solutions and interventions type focus. We certainly need to enhance our digital transformation so that we have open, accessible, transparent environmental data, and that we also provide knowledge on actions and solutions, and that we measure progress. So one of UNEP's key roles is gathering and sharing new science knowledge on systematic environmental threats, trends in our natural environment, and raising awareness on interventions. And I talked before about solutions, so solutions, interventions, the things that work to actually change environmental outcomes. So when we keep the environment under review, we undertake assessments, we collect data from countries, we collect it at the global level, analyse, use and communicate information from global, regional and national state of environment assessments. So UNEP also has a data reporting tool which allows parties to MEAs to gather and record data in a single space, again for sharing across ministries and for national reporting, and to facilitate monitoring of progress towards the global goals and targets for things like the national biodiversity strategies and action plans. So we're keeping the environment under review from the local, regional and global perspective. And of course, what we're seeking to do is to provide that global environmental data. If we actually focus our efforts on the key things we're seeking to achieve, we might be able to communicate that a little more effectively. Making our data and knowledge available, i.e. open, accessible, transparent, is something that will also help communicate, particularly in this day and age. But I also think we need to show what works and promote the positive. We seem to be very much in the gloom and doom type narrative, and we're providing a lot of negative messages out there, which we all understand, and they're important to understand, and they're important to communicate as well. But we also need to show what's positive and what can work. And so we need to try to look at ways of engaging organisations and governments in particular in terms of what's positive and how things can be turned around and change, and promote where the positive type activities have been taking place and where we've seen good environmental outcomes.